The town of Plainville. Established in 1721 at the geographical center of Connecticut.
Today is Wednesday, March 15th, and we'll resume our budget deliberations. Robert, would you like to begin our first department we're going to be looking at tonight?
Yeah, our plan was to follow the Wednesday schedule, and then what we didn't finish on Monday, we'll put on the back end of it.
Sure.
That's okay?
That's fine.
I was going to take recreation first, and I mentioned earlier before Deb and Danny got here, and that was that I told Colin and Mark that they didn't have to come tonight because of, I looked at their budgets, they're relatively straightforward, but if you have questions for them that I can answer, they can always come tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you have any questions. So starting with recreation, we go to G3. Such a small section that it takes me a while to get to G. Anyhow, the recommended budget is $155,162. This is the recreation. This is recreation operating. It's an increase of 1.87%. The only change is the change in salary, and that's the full-time salary account increasing by 2%.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve Department 510 Recreation in the amount of $155,162.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next is the Recreation Special Fund, J10.
Okay.
This is the fund that has all. It's an enterprise fund. We do get some support from the general fund. So I will just go over the expenditure side, and then we'll review the revenue side. The recommended budget is $258,225. It's an increase of $7,735, or 3.09%. The full-time salary line item is going up by $2,315, and the part-time salary going up by $9,000. Rob, I know we talked about the part-time salary. The full-time salary, can you remind me what's going on with the full-time?
The full-time salary person got an increase as of June 30th, 2016. That was, this person split 70-30, or was split 70-30. General fund and this recreation fund being 30%. She had an increase effective June 30th, 16, which was already past the 17 budget process. So once 17's budget is going to have to be adjusted at the end of the year. So the actual difference will only be 2% once the 17 budget is adjusted to get the allocation back to 70-30.
Okay, so it really is, you're saying it's representing a 2% increase?
It is. It's just the timing of the increase will really be $315. $2,000 will actually be sitting in 17's budget. So it's just timing of budget processes.
Okay, all right.
So would we be able to subtract that 2,000 from the 7735 to approve?
No. It has nothing to do with the 18. The salary is already set for 17.
But it wasn't budgeted.
But it wasn't budgeted in this fund. Right? Because of the timing of the 17 budget process.
That's not going to happen again.
That was the one-time adjustment that.
Unless we make another adjustment in fiscal year 18.
Right. Yeah, it won't happen again in 18. It'll be, the allocation will be corrected in 18 going forward. Yeah.
Okay. The part-time salary you see is a $9,000 increase, and that breaks down into two areas. One is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, upon the recommendation of Colin, wants to expand the summer daycare program to extend the hours a little bit longer, so that that parents can drop their kids off earlier in the morning and pick them up later at night, so they're extending the hours to be more convenient. They're going to raise the fees to cover that, so it's an in and out. So it's an increase of $3,200 of the $9,000, but they're going to increase their fees to cover the $3,200. So they're expanding the summer day camp program so that parents that go to work, can drop the kids off early, go to work, and then pick them up a little bit later if they choose to do that. And that seems to be something that, parents have been looking for.
Was this program intended to be like a daycare situation, or is it, I mean, for years it was like 9 to 3 or something like that? Is that what the hours were?
I believe that's
Now
right.
is this intended to be a daycare?
Well, it's
hours?
well, I'm not sure well, I mean, it's a daycare program. To a certain degree, it's a daycare program from 9 to 3.
Well, it's
I mean, the
not
program's
really.
not changing.
Daycare.
What you call it.
You're just
whether-
expanding the
They're
hours.
just not, they're not changing the program itself.
Right, they're still
It's
doing the
just-
same thing.
They're
They're just,
expanding the hours,
they're expanding the hours of what they have right now.
I'm sorry, from 9 to 3 to what?
Let's see if it says it.
Doesn't say it here.
I think they're talking like 7:30 to 4:30 or something along those lines. But again, it's an in and out. The 3,200 expenditure, there's going to be 3,200 more on the revenue side. So the net impact of the budget is nothing. So
No, I'm just trying to understand that what they're doing. Years
Well-
ago, it was just a day camp where you'd go, certain times, but now it's more of like a full-time childcare program.
well,
Is it?
people, are, they believe that certain people aren't joining the program because they need more time and they're spending dollars on, on daycare to, and passing up this program because they don't, because it doesn't meet their needs. So it's really responding to people who have said, hey, we'd really like to see you expand your hours. We're willing to pay more dollars for it. We like the program, but it's difficult for us.
And does this run all summer or just through the month of July and part of
I
August?
believe it runs 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yes.
I think they run in 2-week intervals, don't they? Isn't there like every 2 weeks you have to re-register, or there's, technically it's a
So it's
2
three
weeks.
two-week sessions?
I believe so. If they haven't changed that, if that part hasn't changed.
So as the member, or for lack of words, the membership decreased because of the hours?
Yes, they've seen a drop off of their enrollment over the years.
Participation,
Not too dramatic, but they haven't seen an increase. They've seen a slight decrease, and they feel that expanding the hours, they would be able to bring that back up, bring in some more revenue. The summer program, summer camp program is probably their biggest revenue driver. The revenues more than pay for the expenditures, and there's an opportunity for them to, they believe, to raise additional revenue and, to support their program budget overall. Not all of these programs stand on their own 2 feet. This one generally has, but they're not making as much money off the day camp program because their enrollment has declined a little bit. They feel part of it is because people, need to figure out how they're going to get, extended hours. It's an experiment for this year. We want to see how it turns out. What that means is that the $5,800 that's remaining of the $9,000 increase is a 2.9% increase to the current year's budget if you didn't add the new program. The reason for generally it'd be a 2% increase for part-time employees, but because the minimum wage is going up, they have to, so instead of being a 2%, the minimum wage is impacting it, so it's a 2.9% increase. It raises some of the people who have, up to the minimum wage, more than what the 2% would represent, and some of the people who are right above that, of course, it raises them up to a little bit too. So, it doesn't only have an impact for people at minimum wage, because then, the people who are just above minimum wage would now be at minimum wage, so you have to raise them up a little bit more. So, but the net impact is, instead of 2%, it's 2.9%. So the recommended budget on the expenditure side is $258,225. On the revenue side, you can see the revenues from the various programs. The transfer in, which is the support from the general fund, is, we budgeted $90,000 in the current fiscal year, and I'm recommending that the general fund contribute $90,000 again. What that means is that there's a difference between the expenditures and the revenues of $42,850, and that would come from the fund balance that's in the recreation fund. Right now, the recreation fund has at the end of fiscal year 16, the recreation fund had $86,381. I could tell you that in the fiscal year 16, we had budgeted that they would use, we had budgeted they would use a significant amount of unassigned fund balance. But as you can see, if you look at fiscal year 16, their revenues were 220, their expenditures were 218. So in that particular year, they actually didn't use any fund balance, and they actually increased their fund balance by 25, 24. This year, the current year, on a budget basis, they're anticipating, or we budgeted that they would use a little bit under $40,000 worth of unassigned fund balance. We think that they're going to, they may not, end up with more revenue than expenses, but we don't believe that they're going to end up using, all of that $39,000. So the fund balance is really the balancing act, the balancing part of it. And, to date, expenditures have come in always a little bit under, and revenues have come in a little bit, a little bit over. And we hope that trend continues, especially if they're going to expand the summer camp program. But, there appears to be sufficient monies in their fund balance to be able to do that without increasing the contribution from the general fund. The other option is to raise fees, which they've done gradually over the last several years on some of their programs, or eliminate programs, which the programs that aren't necessarily paying for themselves. But again, this does not impact the general fund contribution at $90,000. At some point in time, if we draw down the unassigned fund balance, then hard decisions are going to have to be made with respect to whether we raise fees, or we increase the general fund, or we do both, or we eliminate programs. But we're not at that stage yet.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Motion to fund Department 515 Recreation Fund in the amount of $258,225.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Later on, when we get to the general fund on transfers out, you'll see the $90,000, and then you'll be considering that number at a later time. That'll be it later on in this meeting. Next is the burner pool fund.
No, we're going to do that. Yeah.
Burner pool fund, we're not recommending that any money come out of the burner pool fund next year. There are dollars that are in the current fiscal year, so we're recommending not making any allocations out of the burner pool fund for next year. We generally put in $10,000, but apparently we don't need to do that next year. They don't have any plans to spend any money, and I think they have a few dollars left in what's been allocated already. Again, this is an enterprise fund. This burner pool fund comes from a an endowment that was given many years ago. So this does not impact the general fund, but it's generally something that's reviewed during the budget process.
So do you want us to approve this at zero?
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to approve 512 burner pool fund in the amount of zero.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, next we have the senior citizens. We have two budgets in the senior citizens. We have senior citizen services and the senior citizens transportation fund. In the senior citizens budget, the recommendation is an appropriation of $301,712, which is an increase of $9,252 or 3.16%. With regards to full-time salary, you'll see a 2% increase, which represents the full-time, the two full-time people we have working at the senior center. Under part-time, we have three moving pieces here. One is that part-time people are going up 2%, except for those that are impacted by the minimum wage. The minimum wage in this particular instance impacts this particular increase by $400. So the minimum wage has a minor impact on this particular budget because most of the part-time employees are making over minimum wage. But so you have the 2% normal increase to the part-time salary. You have the $400 that's impacted by minimum wage, and $3,728 is relating to the grant. You may recall we had a grant in place where we pick up a little bit more. The pickup next year is the $3,728 because of the gradual decrease in the grant, and then we pick up more of that particular salary. Does this fund us at 100% of that person yet?
Yes, we have 100% currently, which will go until about February of 2018. And then the $3,728 would be one half of the cost of the person from February to June.
And then next year, we'll have to pick up a little bit more.
Yes, next year would be more. Absolutely.
But that was something that was discussed previously by the council and been in place, and so. Otherwise, there's really no changes in the rest of the budgeted line items.
Which position was that?
It's a position, an afternoon person who's going to be helping with grant reports, finances,
That's what,
financial reports, audits, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah. She's doing well. She's really remarkable.
They got a good person that had a lot of experience and you know,
Varied experience.
and was looking to, fit into a part-time position, which, probably below what she's used to, but she has some flexibility and.
She has private clients that she takes care of, businesses and individuals, but mostly small businesses. So some of them she'll just do everything, payroll and accounts receivable, accounts payable, that kind of thing. Sometimes she just will work on their income tax. Sometimes she just does a part of it. So she has varied experience. It's really good background.
Okay.
That's really all the change there is, huh?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Motion to approve Department 420 Senior Center for the amount of $301,712.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is the Senior Citizens Transportation Fund, J27. We received grant funds to support this particular budget. The recommended budget is $55,569. It's an increase of $12, or 0.02%. Sean is looking to move some part-time salary into the other contractual. The other contractual is where we justify the grant. Actually, it's moving from the grant into part-time salary because some of the weekend and after-hours transportation would not be eligible under the grant, so we wanted to put it under part-time salary, so that, so that our other contractual is what we use as a basis for seeking the grant. The rest of the revenue for this particular line item would be on the next page. There is some, some contribution from the general fund, which is $27,662, which is the same amount as the current fiscal year. And the rest of the monies come from donations. You see the grant funds, and you see, some fees that we charge for transportation for those who can afford to pay a little bit at a time. So basically, the impact of the general fund is the same as the current fiscal year, and we're doing some changes on the expenditure side so that we don't jeopardize make it simpler for our accounting as far as the grant is concerned. The grant pays for approximately half of our other contractual for those costs that are eligible.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 425 Senior Citizen Transportation Fund in the amount of $55,569.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do we have to do the other second part, or no? 62,003, is that all part of the same, Robert?
It's all part of the revenue, I think. That's,
The 27,662?
Right.
Yeah, our only share of that is the 27,662, and that will come in under, when we get
Okay.
to the general fund, just like on the other one,
All
on
right.
the recreation fund.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean, for everything that you do there, and all your volunteers.
Thank you for your support, because
They work wonders.
they do, but without your support, we wouldn't be where we are, so thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Next is Planning and Zoning Commission, C5. Good night, Sean. Recommend a budget of $3,600, which is the current appropriation for this year. No change. This supports the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion to fund Department 111, Planning and Zoning Commission, in the amount of $3,600.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is Inland Wetlands, C8. Recommend a budget of $1,900, which is the amount appropriated in this fiscal year, so it's a 0% increase.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 113 for $1,900.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Next item is Economic Development, C41. Recommended budget is $72,605. It is an increase of $25,495. It's a high percentage, 54%. Part of that has to do with some changes that we made with staff, so you saw some reduction in other budgets in order to increase this. This pays for half the salary of Garrett Daigle. And we had eliminated some positions and so there's some minuses in other areas, and this is, happens to impact half of the salary in this particular one. Otherwise, it's a 2% increase in salary for half of Mark DeVoe.
Madam Chair.
Motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 170 Economic Development in the amount of $72,605.
Have a second?
Yep.
Danny.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Because we take Mark's position and we split it between, between planning and economic development, and we decided to do the same thing with Garrett. He does some economic development and some planning, so that's just the way, we decided to be. There is subtraction, as a result of some changes that were made, with personnel. Next item is planning, E24. Recommended budget of $79,705. We have it's an increase of $17,673, 28.49%. Again, that's, the larger increases in full-time salary, which is, half the salary of Garrett, although we do have the part-time monies that we had allocated, would go to zero as a result of having Garrett in that position, so that's where some of the savings is as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to fund Department 380 planning in the amount of $79,705.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is the fire department. I'm not sure if the chief's coming tonight. He's supposed to come at 7:15.
We're ahead.
If you like,
You want to go back?
You want to wait and then
Want to skip?
there's some others?
we can do that. So we'll go to interfund transfers, which is J6. Rob, do you want to review this?
Sure. You want?
Yeah. I think you have the list somewhere as far as,
Oh, chief just walked in.
well, this is,
Want to just do this one?
Yeah,
That
just to,
The interfund transfers, the 40 or requested budget is $1,877,212. It's the exact same amount as this year, 2017. This is the general funds. This budget is the general fund contribution to other funds, such as recreation that we just went over, senior center, transportation fund, the library fund, and both the town and Board of Ed capital funds. The requested amounts are in total exactly the same as they are this current year. As I said before, the only changes are, to the capital accounts. In total, the capital two funds, town and Board of Ed, are the same. It's just the allocation between the two is different based on the recommended projects this year. So essentially, the budget is a 0% increase.
I'm even missing something here, so.
Yeah, good, because I am too.
I don't see.
I'm looking at it going,
Are we on
the
J6?
numbers he said, I don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad.
I don't think it's J6.
That's why we were all
I
quiet.
kept looking at your page going, no, I'm on the same page he's on.
I'm thinking.
oh, I'm at J6 is the revenue side on this
What's
one.
the page?
Yeah, right there, but
Pages
What's the page number?
Why is nobody saying anything?
Well, I was trying to add up these numbers. They say it's 0%.
Don't worry, guys.
What's the 267
If
over?
I don't
Then I realized it
understand
wasn't
it,
I was trying to figure out.
Page number should be H12.
H12? We're not even in the right part of the book.
Oh, he will remain nameless. Yeah. More than you? Let's throw you under the bus.
That was Shirley.
All right, that looks better. That sounds like what you said anyway.
Okay,
Okay, so now.
Yes.
You would, please.
well, I see the zero.
The recommended budget is $1,877,212. You can see that, 90,000 going to the recreation fund, 659 going to the library fund, we talked about that. The senior center to 27,662, and then we have the capital fund. Again, as Rob said, there's, the bottom line is the same, but there's a little different allocation. Less from the town side and more on the BOE side, but it's still $1.1 million. So those are your sources of where that will be transferred to. And I don't know, you haven't made a decision on the capital fund yet, so I don't know if you want to,
Wait,
if you want to wait on that, because if you may end up putting less than $1.1 million into the, or more, so
anything's possible.
anything's possible, so.
So we shall wait
Yeah.
till.
So I think,
approve it.
I think you should wait on this one.
Okay.
But make sure you put that down under H12.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have that reference in a couple areas here too. It looks like under the Board of Ed on Tuesday, which is now tomorrow, you can just cross that out there. It's the same page. So, I mean, I think what the schedule was trying to get at was to review the projects themselves within the capital plans separately. We're doing every single department as we go along, so I don't think this is really needed on this schedule.
I'm sorry,
Just
Rob-
the 840.
Rob, where are you talking about under Board of Ed?
You go between 8 and 8:30 tomorrow, you see J8.
J8 should be H12.
J8?
12.
Should be H12 also?
Well,
Well, it should be, I don't know if you want to review you probably should keep J8 and H.
J8 is correct for the capital projects requested for the Board of Ed. It's the J6 that's incorrect on the report.
Yeah, the J8 should stay there, because we'll go over the capital projects
Yeah, that's-
with the Board of Ed tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's
All right.
not bad. The J6 you do.
We're doing the individual capital projects as we go through each of the departments.
Yeah, okay.
The Board of Ed will stay at J8. Okay.
Right,
I guess we can go to the fire department now.
okay.
D10. Recommended budget is $348,475.
Yeah, you ready? Okay. I'm not used to walking in and seeing nobody here.
You're here, that's all that matters.
Tommy's on his way.
This is a
You want us to wait for him?
No.
No? Okay.
Honestly, I think he fell asleep on the couch because yesterday was a rough day.
Oh, okay.
This is a decrease of $5,940 or minus 1.68%. You'll see a 2% increase with the part-time salaries that are paid to the chief officers. Some minor changes in other contractual and maintenance contracts. The decrease is in the machinery, equipment, and supplies. I talked to the chief about this, and he indicated that they bought some items last year, and that that don't have to be repeated as far as in the next fiscal year. So that was a decrease of $8,500, and that really is the swing that makes it a decrease in the overall budget. I asked him several times if he felt comfortable with this budget, and he said several times yes.
Yeah, what the decrease was is we had the new firehouse software. We had purchased any iPads for all the vehicles, and that's, other than the software license, that's a one-time expense, so we didn't have to continue that. Other than that, it pretty much remained the same.
I have one question. On the other contractual, there's an increase. It's very small, $500, 0.33%, but it had been trending in 2015-16, 125,000 out of 150, and right now, I don't know how current that number is, the 55,000 out of 150. So it looked like we weren't even getting closer to the budgeted amount, so why would we put another $500 in there?
We had, I believe that's the stipend is in that one.
Yes.
Increase in the stipend.
Right, we had to come up with minimum wage and so forth, with all the firefighters, so we tried to estimate exactly where it was gonna land at the end of the year. I did not have that as low as 55,000, in my records.
In the current,
Is there a
spent to
difference?
date?
I mean, I know
Yeah.
that some,
62,000 as of
ti-
yesterday.
62.
So, yeah, it's another month later than this was prepared. This was prepared as of February 14th.
So, do you know what I'm saying? It's been trending noticeably lower than what has been budgeted. And again, I'm not taking issue with $500, but I'm just wondering if it had been trending lower than budgeted, what the 500 was, you know.
I especially
Earmarked
was
for.
looking at the increase in minimum wage and, plan for worst case scenario. We could have a year like we had 4 or 5 winters ago where we spent a whole lot of money.
It's based on number of calls. That stipend pays based on number of calls. So as calls increase, this line item increases. As calls decrease, the line item decreases. So 2016 could be an anomaly in that there were fewer calls. You know, there are other things within this line, other budgeted items within this line item. The stipend, for example, is but the 151,000. The stipend cost is 75,000 each. So essentially half of that line item is stipend calls.
We have items such as new employee physicals, OSHA respiratory physicals, OSHA respirator fit tests, firefighter monthly stipend, and custodial services.
Okay.
I mean, certainly it's a guesstimate in some areas, so I mean, there's no science to it,
500 sounds good. Put it in.
Well, no, I actually ran some numbers when I decided on 500, looking at what we had left or what I projected to have left at the end of the year, and then with the minimum wage raise, and I didn't want to get caught short.
Here comes your posse.
Go blame it on Tommy.
Sit down, we're just getting ready.
He said, because you guys are late, we're going to get beat up now.
It's Tommy's fault. Okay, again, it was a small number. There's an overall decrease in your budget. I just was wondering what that was.
Yeah, that's it.
It's for minimum wage.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
since Tommy and Adrian are now here, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to approve Department 210, Fire Department, in the amount of $348,475.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
You're here for the good part now.
Now we'll do the capital budget,
Yep.
which is on J4. Fire Department requested some items for this year, some of which have been funded on an annual basis. Personal protective equipment, $24,500, and the rescue apparatus, which is the fifth annual lease payments of $103,418. Self-contained breathing apparatus, the bottle replacements, which is what we do on an annual basis, $10,000. Dispatch communication equipment, the third annual payments for the lease, $27,977. And the Hearst Power Tool Equipment Jaws of Life, $10,500, which is a replacement of an older
Power
piece of
unit,
it.
yep.
And that was, would you mind just talking about that
Yeah,
briefly?
that's what we use. We have one on each truck. That's what we use when we go to accidents. That's what powers the Jaws of Life. Without that, the jaws don't work. So quite often we're using 2, sometimes 3 sets. And if we go out of town, we have jaws on our trucks so that we can operate it whatever capacity we need to. So it's the actual hydraulic unit. They get tested annually. If they don't make the pressures and so forth, then they've got to be replaced. And all of ours got pretty old. We got them all at the same time years ago, and they started dropping like flies. So we're down a couple right now. Not down a couple. We don't have up-to-date power units on 2 of the vehicles.
And this would this would replace how many of those?
This will replace one of them.
Okay. And then,
Yep. And then I've got one in the following budget, and then we're done.
Anybody have any questions about the capital?
I do know that we, and I think we should have a little bit of a discussion since the chief officers are here, and that's looking at the 5-year plan. Because, the fire department, does have some large ticket items that have come up. And, one of the ways to take a look at that would be to take a look at the 5-year plan, which is on L5. And you'll see, what we're funding in the current fiscal year, which is in the yellow. What's being recommended for fiscal year 18 is the third column over, the 176,395, which is what they requested. So my recommendation was to approve, or to recommend, what their requested was. But I would like to take your attention to next year. Next year, the request is for $558,500, which includes 3 vehicles. One is the Class A apparatus replacement of engine 1, which is something that, we have 4 major vehicles, 3 engines, and, 1 rescue. At least the plan has been over the years to replace, that they would go 20 years, and that we would replace them every 5 years. And that, and the council has, at least in recent times, has said that we will fund them, with a lease purchase over a 5-year period. So the rescue is getting paid off this year, so then under our normal plan, we would then begin to replace the next oldest piece of equipment of those 4, which is engine 1. So, I suspect that the fire department is working towards putting that spec together, and but these have long lead time soon, but could expect that that's going to be the next item. The utility 2 replacement, that was something that was purchased several years ago. It's reaching the, at least in the fire department's opinion, that it's reaching the end of its useful life, and then that has to be replaced. So that's a relatively small item in terms of the larger equipment purchases, which is $70,000. So you can expect that request to come, and if will be coming next year as well. The bigger ticket item is the Tower 1 replacement, which is anticipated to be in the $1 million range for purchase. And if we were to purchase that over 4 years, it'd be $250,000 for 4 years. That's the way it's laid out in the plan right now. As we've spoken before, this might be something, given our, at least what I see as flexibility in our debt service schedule, that's something that we may be able to fit into that, bond it for $1 million, as we're consolidate with some of the other borrowing that we will be doing, so we don't incur additional administrative costs to do that. We can piggyback it onto something else that we some permanent borrowing, which is not something that's unusual. There are many communities that bond for large ticket items such as fire trucks, certainly on a tower equipment, because that $250,000 would really impact the general fund over 4 years or 5 years, as opposed to something where if you bond it, it's paid for over 20 years, and certainly we're going to get the benefit of this tower over 20 years as well. So it certainly is an option to be considered. So I just want to make sure that, that it's on the radar screen, that could be a potential big ticket item and something that we'll be discussing over the next year.
Quick question. I know on the rescue truck, it was wasn't it about 18 months it took to work out all the details of what you wanted to order?
Yeah, a rescue truck takes quite a while to build. You have to count for just about every square inch, because there's going to be a tool in every square inch of that truck. There's a lot more planning that goes into it. It's a very labor-intensive committee. Pumper is not quite as labor-intensive. We've kind of laid the groundwork for what we typically buy. It's just a matter of where we're gonna put things, and how we're gonna fall into the new EPA regulations and that sort of thing. So we're gonna have to freshen up a spec from engine 3 or engine 4, but the trucks are typically pretty similar, which helps us with different drivers jumping in different trucks, if they're all laid out about the same, it's a heck of a lot easier to get in that truck and get going than try and figure out where they moved all the switches to on us.
So how big a window is that for the pumper?
The pumper doesn't typically take quite a year to build, and the committee, I don't expect that to be a very involved committee. If it's 6 months, it'll be quite a bit.
And what about the tower?
We're going to put a committee together that's going to look at a lot of different options. We got to look at, what I put in there for a number is to replace what we have today. And we got to look at, is that the right truck for us today? Is the bucket on the end of the tower the right thing? Is the all-steel ladder the right thing? We currently buy our trucks, they're set up very much like a Quint is. We have a pump in them, so I don't need a pumper to lay, or to pump water through that tower. We're already set up that way. A lot of the paid departments had not been, so Quint is the new catchword for that, but we've been buying them that way for years. That adds cost to it up front, but you're not tying up two pieces of apparatus to do one function. And that's the claim to fame with that type of a truck. So we've been doing that. I would like to continue doing that. I think it simplifies operations considerably. We got to look at, do we need dual axle? Do we need single axle? Do we want the bucket on it? There's just a million things to talk about when you're outfitting a truck like that. So that'll be a little bit longer committee. I would expect that to be 9 months to a year in planning.
Is it possible that it may not impact the fiscal 19 budget, that it may be fiscal year 20? I mean, depending upon the timing of this?
That's more up to you than it is to me.
Well, I mean,
I'll buy it tomorrow if you want.
Well, if you have a year of planning and then you have a year of building, I mean, that would put us into a whole.
Put that truck together.
We have to put a down payment on it anyhow.
Yeah, typically.
You have to put a down payment on it?
Yeah, they're not going to start building it without having to.
Yeah, they're not gonna
Our
put it-
word's no good?
It's government.
Maybe you're.
UPO is great, but cash is king.
Yeah. No, but if you had a year of committee work to try and lay out what exactly you think we need for our town, and then another year to build it, that would, as the town manager's saying, that would probably push us into another budget year.
Maybe, and we'll see how that timing goes. I mean, it's possible that that may not be in 19, it could be in 20. I mean, it really depends on how things play out and how we deal with our, what happens at the state level as well. With the impact, to the state.
We typically start the committees before the vehicle is actually, before we're in that year anyway. We usually have all the groundwork done, and as soon as we get, we know the money is earmarked, we call and say it has to go out to bid. So we usually have the homework done ahead of time.
You anticipate that this time next year, maybe by the end of this calendar year, you'll be in a position to say, this is what we're looking at in terms of a type of truck we want.
Yeah.
This is the estimated cost of it, and we may even make an adjustment to the request.
Yes. Yep.
Well,
Okay.
We just want you to be aware that it's on a schedule, and
Yep.
that will be.
That's why I threw it in there. It's a big number, and we needed to talk about it a little bit.
Do you think you'll be getting the same type of truck? I mean, the aerial, that's yet to be decided.
I'm gonna leave that open because, I don't want to be the guy making that decision alone. I mean, I've got 4 chief officers, and
Yep.
we should have a committee put together, and let's decide. A bunch of our guys have gone to some recent training on some of the aerials, and our truck outperformed a lot of them built today. But there's some things that we may not want to put in there now. So, bigger is better is the way that truck was built, and I'm not sure that's the right way to go. And
Yeah.
I want to open up that discussion in the department anyway.
One of the things that we did discuss as well is refurbishing of the existing truck.
Yep.
And, that's relatively expensive in order to meet the current, requirements. And that would get us maybe 10 years out, as opposed to 20. It wouldn't extend it 20 years. And that, looking at the cost benefit to that, at least according to Kevin, I'm not sure we crunched all the numbers, but he felt that, the better bang for the buck would be not to just extend for 10 years, but to get something new. You'd be more cost effective to buy a new truck than it would be to refurbish the old one and only get 10 years out of it.
Yeah, NFPA has updated some of the stuff that needs to be in that type of truck, and that would have to be added to it as part of a refurb too. you're looking at probably at least 3/4 of the cost, and that's before they get the body off and they start going through the torque box and the chassis. Even the manufacturer said we're doing less and less of these because of the sheer cost to refurb it for a 10-year time frame. So
I just want to let you know that it was something that we had some, preliminary discussion on, and based upon what I was told, it didn't sound like it was made sense to do it that way.
And that's along the same lines of the 20 years, just like the pumpers they're 20
yeah,
years
it's
old.
supposed to be 20 years. We kind of tend to push that one out another 3 to 5 if we can.
Yeah, this one's probably been about 25 years.
It's going to be 25 years, yeah. Because
You wouldn't know that when you look at it, I
we
guess.
ended up with a pumper and a rescue the same year, so we moved the pumper up a little bit, the rescue back a little bit, and that pushes the next truck back and the next truck. So
Yeah.
we're caught in that a little bit right now.
Okay,
All right.
Anything else?
all right. Any other questions for our chiefs?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Bye now. Okay,
I guess we're ready to go back to what we didn't get to last week.
Yep.
Which is Town Council C3. Budget we're recommending is a budget of $72,379. We see an increase of $763 or 1%.
Is that
We
your
have-
salary or your salary?
Right, that's the surprise of the
Surprise of the
year.
year, right.
That's a surprise.
That was discussed at Charter Revision, unanimously
Turned down.
rejected. I think that more came from the town council members than the Charter Revision Commission vote, by the way. They wanted to recommend something because of the time and effort that you put into it. But anyhow, that being it, slight decrease in professional development based upon usage. Certainly if there's something that comes up and we go over the $1,000, we certainly will find dollars somewhere else. But based on past history, we thought a slight decrease in that was appropriate. The increase in other contractual is the audit. This audit is split between the town and water pollution control. We pay, the audit includes Board of Education, but we pay for, the whole audit through the town and the sewer. The total audit is $48,500, somewhere in that area. Sewer fund picks up about 14,000 of that. So the town cost is 30, in the $36,000 range. Or 35, we're recommending that it increase by $1,000. In talking to Rob about, our current auditors, we did go out to request for proposals, probably about 5 years ago now, maybe 6 years ago. And we did get several firms that were interested. Bloom Shapiro was significantly lower than the other firms, probably, to the tune of maybe $10,000 to $12,000. But, in talking to Rob recently about this, there's a feeling that it may be worthwhile doing a request for proposals next year. But there's not enough time to do it between now and July 1st, but perhaps over the summertime, going into the fall, do a request for proposals. And it may be worth our while, paying a little bit more to get a different perspective. But, we would leave that to the council to decide. But until then,
Give me one more year with them, and then
They've been with the town since I remember,
it's been a long time now, which is one of the reasons why I was not happy entirely with their performance this past year.
Oh.
Which is why you still have the audit in front of you. I just got it a couple weeks ago. So you'll be getting those. Actually, I should have brought them tonight, but I'll give them to you next week. But they've said they would do some different things this coming year to hopefully improve what I was disappointed about. let's put it that way. Well, one more year with them, and then let's go out to bid is my suggestion. Whether we retain them or not upon that bid is seen, but I think either way, once we go out to bid, the price will go up.
It's so counterintuitive.
Well, I think they're really under market right now, what they're charging us, so.
Part of it is that when you've been in the community for a longer period of time, the learning curve is there, and you don't have to spend as much time, in theory, doing the audit. So when a new company comes in, they have to, get used to. You have to put a lot more time and effort in just to understand the way we do things in Plainville. And
Well, first time through procedures, and they have to document everything we do, every step of the way that Bloom has already documented over the years, and it's kind of a step you just kind of scan and say, okay, yeah, it's still the same. Okay, good. Next, but a new firm would have to really truly document and walk through that process to make sure it's actually happening the way it's documented.
Yeah, but maybe the fresh eyes are worth the extra money.
Oh, it may very well be, and that's why I'm at a point now where I'm suggesting that we probably should at least think about doing that.
Is it a multi-year bid that we go out
No,
for, or just a
we
1
do
year,
it every
one single
year.
year?
No, we would go on a year-to-year basis, and the council approves the auditors for the next fiscal year every year.
Yeah, from a statutory point of view, the council has to appoint an auditor on a yearly basis. It doesn't mean that you can't have a 3-year contract in
That's what I
place with a
meant,
renewal.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do the appointment
Go
on a
through
yearly
those
basis.
motions. Okay.
Right, exactly. So
I mean, if you want to lock somebody up for 3 years, you can do that. You just have to appoint them each year.
Yeah, but we might not want to do that with somebody new until we see how they do too.
I just think it might be time. So we'll give me another year, and like Robert said, a year from now we'll revisit this. See what
But
we can do.
we have to do, if we are to go out, we need to begin to do that next fall. We can't do it this time of the year. It's
Yeah, it would be done right in conjunction with the audit, right around when the audit's done. I would say, okay, fine, let's put an RFP out for the next audit cycle, so they can get in and do preliminary work, say in, March, April, before the year end, June 30th. So, typically, right now, there's probably 20, 25 towns out there to bid for auditors, because their audits are all done and they're getting ready for preliminary work, so.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Okay, yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve 101 Town Council in the amount of $72,379.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is Conservation Commission under C12. Recommend a budget of $2,700, which is the current year's appropriation. We see reducing in operating supplies, a little bit of an increase in professional development.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 116 for $2,700.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is the Veterans Council under C13. Recommend a budget of $9,375, which is an increase of $4,300. 100 of that increase is the part-time salary of the three members of the commission. They get very small stipends, 2%. The agency subsidy, which is a new program, a new regional program that's being recommended by it's being sponsored by the city of Bristol, and that is the Veterans Strong Community Center, which is housed in the City Hall of Bristol. This was a federally funded program to serve veterans, and we had given you a handout at our last meeting, servicing the towns that are on the last page: New Britain, Bristol, Southington, Farmington, Avon, Plainville, Wolcott, Plymouth, Burlington, Thomaston, and Harwinton. think they're looking to bring Canton in as well. To date, I participated in several meetings where we had this discussed. The federal government has pulled the funding on this program as of, I believe, December 31st. The city of Bristol agreed to pick up the remaining 6 months in the current fiscal year to July 1st. And what they're proposing, as far as going forward is concerned, is to ask the towns to contribute a total of all the towns a little bit under $60,000, which basically would fund a full-time person. They would not charge for, the space that they're in, or it would strictly be for the personnel side. And this is a person who's very experienced in dealing with veterans issues. By statute, towns are required to have a veterans committee or someone who can deal with veterans issues. We do have a veterans commission, and so we satisfy the requirement. But this is something that some towns don't have it to the degree that Plainville has. So for some towns, it may be an opportunity for them to, if they had a part-time person doing it, have that. It's usually somebody that's sharing a position or something along those lines. For them, it may be something where they take that part-time person and give them something else to do, and this fulfills the requirements for them. But I think it's a worthwhile program for Plainville to participate in. It provides some potential additional services for our veterans. They're doing the allocation based upon the veteran population in our community, and you can see on that spreadsheet that they're estimating $3.50 per veteran to raise the funds. So Plainville's share would be $4,200, or approximately 7% of the entire budget. And I've spoken to the veterans, Dave, the head of our veterans committee, and his feeling was that while there's not a lot of Plainville veterans today that have used this service, I think that it's been somewhat maybe not as well known as it could be, but over time I think it will be. But his feeling was, hey, if this is something the council is of a mind to do, he said he certainly would support it. So all of the other towns on this list have agreed to, pretty much agreed to participate, subject to budget considerations, except for New Britain. Although I think there's a feeling from the mayor of Bristol that he will be able to convince the mayor of New Britain to participate in this program. Some of the towns are doing some fundraising efforts to come up with their share through VFWs or American Legions and other fundraising efforts. And that may be something that's available to us at this point in time. But my recommendation is that we fund it. We participate in this regional program, and there may be an opportunity for them to get some additional funding that would decrease our share of it as well. And the first 2 pages of this does tell you something about what they would offer and how they plan to operate.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion, we fund Department 119 Veterans Council in the amount of $9,375.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Next item is probate under C17.
Recycling committee, C15.
All right, we'll go to C15. Sorry about that.
What's going on?
It's like probate went down a lot.
Well,
Sorry about that. Recommended budget of $950, which is the current year's appropriation. We have a slight increases in part-time salary and operating supplies and a decrease in professional development.
Madam Chair,
yes.
motion to fund Department 121 for $950.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
If you flip the page, we'll get to probate. Recommended budget of $9,475, which is an increase of $803. It is a higher percentage, 9.26%. This is based on a formula, and it's a relatively small amount. This covers the operating cost, our participation in the, with the city of Bristol and Plymouth. This does not include the capital cost of building out their offices, and I'm in discussions with the mayor's office about looking for us to pay for the entire share of that. So we're in negotiations. I'm not sure where that will lead to, but this is just the operating side. But it's pretty much done on a formulaic basis. We really don't have much choice in the matter, although, we will be switching over to the town of Farmington in, I think in January of 19.
When was that? January?
January of 2019?
Yes. When, I think they elect the next probate judges in
Isn't it in
December,
17?
in November of 18.
Yeah, because it is, yes, it's a
Oh,
four-year
18.
term.
Right,
And I
18,
think,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
according to statute, you could not make a change until the new term
Right.
begins.
Right.
It is 18, yeah, you're right.
And we've already has the approval, for that. There's, so that's going to occur. It's just, it won't happen before then. So we have at least another year and a half with Bristol. But they want us to pay for our full share of, they consider our full share of, their build out over, it's, they're going to be good for 20, 25 years, so. The problem is that the statute is, it doesn't necessarily line up exactly to match our particular circumstances. And I'm not sure where it's going to end up.
Yeah, I think the request was made actually at the beginning of the current four-year term,
Yeah,
as I remember it, yeah.
even a little bit before that.
Yeah, it may have started before that, yeah.
Because it started at a lot lower cost of the project. And, then the cost mushroomed, more than doubled. And then they went forward with it, and that's when Plainville began to look at what other alternatives were because of the cost, and they went forward with it anyhow. So I'm not sure that the statute allows for them to unilaterally, build out something and then charge us for it automatically, especially if we're going somewhere else. But again, the language isn't, doesn't line up exactly, because I'm not sure that anybody anticipated consolidation of these probate courts when that particular, and then the idea that people would, move from one to another, and that somebody be building out a court somewhere in between, so it's kind of an unusual circumstance. We'll see where we end up. But this is just the operating side.
Perhaps it can be negotiated in Farmington.
In Farmington's probate court, you're talking
Yeah, yeah.
about? I don't know if that's the same court, but I guess.
Robert doesn't get it.
Well, we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
there's such a short time left, maybe we're not going to be
Yeah, I
able
don't
to
get
do
it.
anything.
We'll get out of
Say.
town.
That was
before then. Okay.
All right.
Anyhow, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve 130 probate court for the amount of $9,475.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is the town manager's office.
Now fun begins.
Recommended budget of $275,357, which is an increase of $56,682 or 25.92%. The great majority of the increase is due to the change, the change in personnel from, physical services administration and, transferring some of that into, the assistant to the town manager's position, which has been discussed over the last year and a half. And, I did bump up the professional development to cover some of the assistant to the town manager's, professional development as well. So, so that's the recommendation for the town manager's office. Some of it is a little bit of a catch-up on my salary as well.
Have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve Department 131 Town Manager in the amount of $275,357.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions for the town manager? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Off the hook yet again.
Well, I continue to be amazed at the amount of business that runs through this office. Anywhere's from, today, we're trying to finalize our virtual net metering contract, which we spoke about months ago, but there's a lot of paperwork that needs to go forward. And, it looks like it's going to be, we got a couple more buildings involved with that, and it looks like, we could have some significant savings, going forward, over the next 20 years, but even next year, if it gets built by October, there could be some savings on the electrical side, going forward from there. Never mind, dealing with the budget, and dealing with, the water, testing with Valley Water, just, Connecticut Prime, which we have a meeting tomorrow, and, it's a new challenge every day. Certainly having Scott's help, means a lot, with getting, past, some of the, dealings with the snowstorm that occurred, dealing with some of those issues. And some of them were handled, even overnight, in terms of people contacting me directly, via email or text message, and, passing the messages along to Dominic, who's out in the field, and was able to take care of them right away in real time. So, it's I think we enjoy being busy, but it just takes a lot of effort.
Okay. We already approved your budget, so.
All right, I got the message. Loud and clear. Next item is Human Resources, C21. Recommended budget of $92,682, which is an increase of $1,627 or 1.79%. You see the full-time salary going up 2%, part-time salary going up 2%, which is the general increase, and a slight decrease in recruitment and training of $100. Basically covers a part-time human resources technician and Shirley's position.
Shirley's is in data processing, right?
This is Stacy's position.
Stacy's position?
Right.
Sorry about that.
There's a part-time person in your office and then HR specialist.
Sorry about that. This is Stacy's position.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve Department 132 Human Resources in the amount of $92,682.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is elections, C23. Recommended budget of $63,825, which is a decrease of $1,940 or minus 2.95%. There's a slight increase in part-time salary, and a decrease in professional development. Part of that is because the staff has had the Yukon classes training under the new election procedures, so that, that was in last year's budget, but, not covered under last year's budget, so we don't see a need to do that in the upcoming budget.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 133 in the amount of $63,825.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I have a question. regarding the personnel and their part-time salary, it looks like it's going up 0.93%, but over in the commentary, it says there's a 2% salary increase, so is that, is there a reason why it's showing as 0.93 rather than 2% in the part-time salary line?
The 18th fiscal year shouldn't have will not have presidential elections and things like that, so there'll actually be less hours incurred by part-time staff. The registrars and the assistant registrars do have the 2% increase. It's just less hours in all the part-time.
Oh, okay.
These are the people who also work at the
They still get a
poll
2%,
workers.
it's just.
The poll workers, not
Right,
the,
poll workers are part of this line, yeah.
yeah, because they,
Oh, registrars are not in here.
They are.
They are.
They are.
So you get 2% for the registrars, but the poll workers drag it down because
Okay.
because we see
Okay.
less hours for the poll
Got it.
workers.
yes.
Yeah, the poll workers are, I believe, 20, about 20,000, a little more than 20,000, 24,000 of this line item.
But the four positions refer to the two registrars and
They're
the two,
2%
and the two,
increases.
and the two deputy,
deputy
and the two deputy
They're
registrars.
2%, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next is town attorney and legal advice, C-24. Recommending a budget of $135,055. Increase of $2,020 or 1.52%. The other contractual is the town attorney.
May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 134 Town Attorney in the amount of $135,055.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 33, town.
Town clerk. C-33. The recommended budget of $200,495, an increase of $5,323 or 2.73%. You have a full-time salary account increase of, which makes up most of that difference, $3,735. I think there's just some rounding errors, not errors, but rounding numbers that brings in a little bit over 2%. We're not giving out salaries, increases more than 2%. Some decrease in operating supplies, slight decrease in professional development, other contractual going up slightly. The maintenance contracts there's a new item in there. You recall that we had we use general code to do all of our books, all of our ordinances, and, we have the $1,195 represents, the maintenance contract to make changes as they occur. So that keeps those codes up to date. As we change them, as you change them, or as law changes, the books get updated automatically so that we don't get into a situation where they get outdated and we have to do the whole process over again.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve Department 150 Town Clerk in the amount of $200,495.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is data processing.
We did that.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, 'cause I have.
Right, we did that when Kevin was here.
Yeah.
C-39, which is General Administrative Services. We do that one? Okay. Recommended
No, we
budget.
didn't do C-39, did we?
We did not
No,
do
that's,
C-39.
I was being facetious.
Oh.
Sorry. Recommended budget of $81,055, an increase of $325 or 0.4%. The only increase is in the part-time salary account, $325 or a little bit less than 2%.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
Motion to fund Department 165 General Admin Services in the amount of $81,055.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next is Health and Sanitation, F3. This has to do with the Plainville Southington Health District, recommending, although the budget has not been finalized, that's going to be done, I believe, next Thursday. However, the recommendation is that we appropriate the current budgeted amount of $120,157. If there's any changes to this, it'll be extremely minor. So I don't have a problem with approving. I wouldn't have a problem if you approve this number. If it ends up a little bit higher, a little bit lower, it'll only be by $100 or so, and we can either do a transfer at the end of the year or just have a slight surplus in it at the end of the year. Unless you want to wait, we may be done with our budget, at least on the expenditure side by then, so.
Have a
Madam
motion,
Chair?
please?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to approve Department 410 Health and Sanitation in the amount of $120,157.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just point out, and I know it's already been voted in, but the per capita amount has been the same since fiscal year 14 at $6.75. And our overall budget, the only change has been that we've had a little bit of an increase in our population since then. So our overall increase in this particular line item is about, maybe $600 over what amounts to, 6 years, which I think is, pretty good. Next item is Health and Welfare Services, F5. Recommending a budget of $53,865. It's an increase of $555 or 1.04%. This basically funds pro-health physicians, which is some of the services that are provided at the senior center. And I would point out that the town receives $10,000 as a revenue offset for the fees incurred by senior center members. So this total budget does get offset by $10,000. Plainville Early Learning Center, we fund, we've been funding that historically for many years. The increase in that is 2%. We're recommending a 2% increase to what we provide to the Early Learning Center. And miscellaneous other agencies stays the same at $2,200.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to fund Department 412 Health and Welfare Services in the amount of $53,865.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next is Social Services at F15. Recommending a budget of $28,201, which is an increase of $546 or 1.97%. This pays for our part-time social services director, who is basically here 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I believe she's putting in somewhere around 19 hours.
Yes, 19 hours a week for about 49 weeks a year. Takes a few weeks off.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to fund Department 430 for $28,201.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is Youth Services at 17. Recommending a budget of $119,123, which is an increase of $2,423 or 2.08%, which is basically covering the salary increases of the full and the part-time salaries. Now, the part-time salaries are offset by a grant? Youth services grant?
If our hours, we use this money first, and anything above and beyond this, we use with the grant. There are certain specific items that this person does, or persons do, that are only grant related, and you don't see them in this budget. But for the most part,
This is the town share of that.
this is the town share of that, correct?
So we actually get more services out of that due to the grant.
Absolutely, yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to fund Department 440 Youth Services in the amount of $119,123.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item is unclassified, H7. I'm recommending a decrease in the unclassified from 50,000 to 30,000, which is a $20,000 decrease. Which is minus 40%. We did give you an idea of what we have spent over the last since 2012 in unclassified. It's really, it's a hard one to predict. But given the particular circumstances of our budget for next year, I felt that lowering the unclassified line item made sense.
Madam Chair?
Agreed. Yes?
Question. 15, it looks like the only year we really, I don't even know what was in the 35, but, I mean, would you feel comfortable going down to 20?
Well, our average, 5-year average is 37,325.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're thinking that,
Okay.
that the 57 in fiscal year 15 kind of drags that up?
Yeah, the 50, 15, whatever happened in 15 drags everything up, yeah.
Yeah, I think if that just, and I forget what that was.
Well, the 30's fine.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Maybe save that for next year if we have a good year.
All right, I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. Motion to fund Department 830 unclassified for $30,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I believe
that's,
all we had for this evening.
okay.
Certainly, if you want to go on to something else.
So we have left Board of Education and then finalizing the capital account. We have some.
Yeah, a couple
We
of-
also have some other questions on some other open.
And revenues. Yep.
Can we, before we meet again, have a list of those open departments unless there aren't that many you can tell us right now?
I can tell you right now, yeah. Go in numerical order. 136, 310, 415, the 840, which is the transfers out. Board of Ed will do tomorrow. The two capital funds, which are part of the 840s as well. And the sewer, 170, 100. Department 340.
What was the sewer again?
340.
340.
When were we looking to finalize this?
We have meetings, next week that it can be done. We're looking by the end of next week. But I mean, we will have gone through the whole budget by probably tomorrow night. So it's really just a question of when you feel comfortable making a decision. You could actually wait to make a decision till, we're gonna have a public hearing. We're gonna set the public hearing date. Well, we could say, we were gonna say April 3rd, which is a council meeting night. have the public hearing, and then perhaps have a special meeting the next night, you know, in case you don't want to, set the budget, that same night. Or you could set the public hearing on the 4th, which is the Tuesday, and then have, have a special meeting on Wednesday, or approve it on the 4th as well. So we were going to ask on Monday night when you wanted to set the public hearing. So if the public hearing's on April 3rd or 4th, we need a 5-day notice on that?
The public hearing, yes, well, you'll know Monday what you're going to do.
Right, but if we need a 5-day,
Yes.
we need a 5-day notice, which means that we have to put a summary of the budget in the newspaper.
That's later after they've approved it.
Okay, so we're just noticing that there's a public hearing 5 days before. So in theory, if I can just pull out my calendar here.
In any case, it won't be till after the first April council meeting.
Right, but in order to get we would have to publish the notice on Tuesday the 28th, but we can publish that notice on the 28th. Do we have to have a budget in, council have to finalize the budget? Does the notice of the public hearing have to have the dollar amount in it?
No, it can be the proposed, but we would have to, when the notice is published, we would have to give a figure. So if we have a public hearing on April 3rd, then I would notice it in the Citizen on March 30th with a dollar amount. Because people would be able to at least see the proposed
Yep.
fiscal budget.
The 30th would be 5 days? Okay, so you really, in order to do that, the latest date that you can make your decision on would probably be Monday the 27th? In order for us to put the paperwork, get it into the Citizen for the publishing on the 30th. We have meetings scheduled for next week. We could cancel those meetings, or you could decide, we had them going up to Thursday the 23rd. You could meet on the 23rd if you want to make a week from tomorrow evening. If you don't want to make the decision on the 16th, you could wait till the 23rd to make that decision, or you could even have a special. We could set another meeting up for the 27th. Now, once you have the public hearing on the 3rd or the 4th, we have to publish. What type of notice do we have to give for the 26th vote?
The budget vote is April 25th.
25th.
So I need to either, at the very latest, earliest ideal would be the 13th in the Citizen of the columns of the proposed budget.
13th?
Of town council approved.
So we'd have to have it published by the 13th, which means if you have your hearing on the 3rd or the 4th, you would have to make your decision by the 10th of April.
Or a little bit earlier, because that's a big ad, and they have to hand put everything in. They just can't cut and paste, so I'm going back and forth with them for a good week, making sure all the figures are correct.
They can't take my file and just
Right.
upload it. I gave it to them in that format, but they can't. They have to hand type everything, so we have to check every single number.
The best thing I could do is if you have everything except the last approved column, I can give it to them first. They can start
Yeah.
working on it, and then the last column. I was made it up to contact them tomorrow.
So maybe, the 5th or the 6th. I mean, we prefer to, have a decision by, the 3rd or the 4th if possible. Not sure.
Tonight or tomorrow's good.
Tomorrow's good.
So I think the question after tomorrow night, what date do we come back and set some number so that, for the public hearing?
Well, and that's a question of whether you want to do that tomorrow night. The last date you can do it is the
The 27th.
27th. We have a meeting scheduled on the 23rd, but if we could cancel all next week's meeting if you want to do it on the 27th.
The 23rd or 27th works for me either way. There's no,
27th is better for me.
You want to cut it nice and tight, that's good.
I guess the,
Either way,
once,
tomorrow we're doing the Board of Ed, and then we'll hash out the numbers, and then we'll come back again with a final. That's basically the idea.
Yeah, we'll finish up the ones we didn't approve also, all
Yeah.
those open compartments that we haven't
There's not that many.
The
completed.
20th is your regular meeting, and we already have in the budget schedule the 21st or 22nd, 23rd if necessary. So we've already noticed those dates.
we can cancel those meetings if you want to switch it to the 27th. We can decide that tomorrow night.
Okay,
Seems like that's the way you want to go, but we'll finalize it tomorrow night, if that's okay.
okay.
Finalize the final date tomorrow.
Now we don't just know we're here tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
6:30.
Very good.
The only point we'd make is that after you have your hearing on the 3rd or the 4th, you'd have to make a decision relatively quickly after that in order to get all the information to the papers.
Okay,
It was funny looking at all the
if we're all set, can I have a motion
a
to
whole lot of
adjourn?
sugar.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. See you tomorrow.
That was quick.